Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's an obvious sign someone's American? According to the CIA, when training to be a spy, you have to unlearn how to lean. Americans tend to lean on things when standing still. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. CIA. Edit. Please stop responding that this is what they say wherever you work. That's the joke. Turns out my boss is CIA. Wow, that's an interesting point. I never thought about that. Yeah, so they say if you were in Russia in a queue for the subway, the American is the one leaning against a post, or a group of people talking in a hotel lobby in London, the Yank is leaning on a sofa. Walked into a bar in Australia. Ordered a beer and then the bartender noticed I'm American. I asked, was it the accent or my choice of Budweiser beer? He said, because you're the fattest fuck I have ever seen in my life, mate. Been laughing at this for 5 whole minutes. When I lived in Europe, people said only Americans eat while walking. I'd be eating a bagel or something on the way to work or class and multiple people asked if I was American. Lol. My partner's Italian mother absolutely couldn't get over the idea of seeing people walk around holding coffees, especially iced coffee. Long coffees instead of espresso is weird enough. But the idea of sitting at a cafe and not just finishing your coffee before you leave. It's very weird. Sitting, soaking in some sun for 2 minutes while chatting and drinking your espresso is common practice for me, and it feels very revigorating. My French in-laws were similarly shocked. When we're on road trips, we have to stop and go into Starbucks and sit down for like 45 minutes. Drinking our coffees slowly drives me nuts. Lol. British man once told me he knew I was American because I was wearing a baseball cap backwards. An Italian told me they could tell I was American because I wore my sunglasses on the top of my head when I wasn't using them. Bonus points if you put them on top the bill of your ball cap. And rock a goatee. I've never seen anyone wear baseball caps other than Americans. So I stick out a bit. Canadians definitely wear them a lot too. I did grad school in England. Learned a travel hack. Only Americans wear caps everywhere. Americans tip relatively big. If you need assistance, slap on your hat, and help will be on the way. Americans, do your part by continuing to tip big. I will never put a hat on anymore. I will now only slap on my hat. Gimme a minute, I just need a slap on the old hat. Thank you for giving me another reason to annoy my future wife. Tactical sunglasses. Sounds like my dad. He even has a dark platinum wedding ring that he describes as tactical. Waffles are tactical pancakes. This is so funny because every male aged 20 to 60 wears these in the Midwest and it's hilarious. Like, why are your sunglasses ready for combat? I've made fun of myself for it plenty and I think it's changed, but for years and years the only safety-rated sunglasses you could get to legally wear on job sites were made for the military stuff. I wanted decent polarized sunglasses because I was working outdoors 80% of the time and it was either that or the cheap crap safety glasses. YAL. It used to be predominantly used by us in the southern states. But I've noticed it's been getting popular in the other parts of the US. Lol. I am a Yankee New Yorker and I use it all the time. It is just the best way to say you all. Here's a really southern one. Yaldiv. I love the good ol' Yaldiv. This isn't even underlined red for me at this point. Lol. Did y'all eat? As an American, I was expecting to get roasted in these comments. But after reading them I can only laugh and agree. Laugh very loudly while leaning. When they say, Europe, and it could mean anything from Venice to Doncaster. I visited Europe last summer. Quote, yes, in 1 week I should add. To be fair, that's only an 18-hour drive. How was that again? For an European, 100 kilometers is a long distance. For an American, 100 years is a long time. Takes like 10 hours to get from Southeast Texas to Northwest Texas. Lol. Edit. But it's probably the most boring, dull drive you'll ever make. I don't know how true it is, but when I was in a hostel in Japan we met a guy from France, I think. But anyway, at some point he mentioned he could tell we were from USA. He said it was because we talked loudly. Like our normal speaking volume was louder. And now I can't help but notice that sometimes when I speak to someone from a foreign country, I do feel like I talk louder than them. I saw 2 American guys play catch on a basketball court in my neighborhood. They were standing on opposite sides of it and speaking to each other. No exertion or shouting it out. Just like it's a normal distance to talk at. And I heard both of them perfectly well from the other side of the street. Never heard such a thing before or after. Never get stuck in an enclosed space with Filipinos if Americans are your version of loud. I would be absolutely fascinated to read study about how this came about. There's bound to be some absolutely boring but logical reason you guys developed a louder talking volume than most other nationalities. Dundee in Scotland has a really odd inflection where they pronounce I with the same sound as an. E in them, web, men, pet, etc. as. I did the tour at the Verdant Works, former jute mill, museum, and the guide explained it's because the normal I sound would be drowned out in the factories, so they switched to the A sound. So pi equals pair, I equals A, 5 equals fev, etc. Always found that fascinating. America is loud for some reason. I can't describe it, but the ambient noise just isn't as big even in large cities in Europe. Asia is another story though from my experience.